morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning where Grumpy is here as always. And he's grumpy because I'm freaking sick. Literally within a day after coming back and kind of like called it while we were there, mind you, while on vacation. But I'm like, yeah, we're going to get sick big time. And then, but the odd thing is, it went from zero to hundreds within like literally 12 hours. We're like, oh, I think I'm getting sick to I'm dying within 12 hours, which was fast. But
Well,
the
that's
Polish
what you.
princess here.
I was gonna say
What's up?
that's what you get for hanging out with all those Las Vegas degenerates, man. All those sickly people. You're swapping germs with them, man. That's what's gonna happen.
Swapping germs with them, and not only that, it was like in 50s over there, which compared to here is like summer because we're in the negatives here right now in Chicago. But it's they have like in Vegas, you kind of go through hotels as you go down the strip. So we did do a lot of walking, mind you. So we're going from like the other location. So now you're like in the 50s where it's decent, but you need a hoodie sometimes if you're not like in direct sunlight or something like that. And then you go into a freaking hotel where it's like an oven, or like those hotel malls they have like Aria and stuff. It's like an oven. You're like, God damn, you take it off, you come out, it's cold again, you put it back on. It's just, yeah, I was like, yeah, with this nonstop temperature change every like 30 seconds, we're definitely gonna get sick. The good thing is, I guess, we did not get sick over there. So Alan is complaining about the cold in Houston. I think he sent me a message saying it's in the 20s over there. Try negatives for size. Are you even venturing to go outside today? Because it's supposed to get brutal the next 2 days, I think.
I have to because Mondays are my day off where I go and get groceries. So I cook my lunches and make my breakfast for the week. Because
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We opened a whole new topic right here.
oh,
So, wait.
what have I done?
One, you go grocery shopping like with Michelle, or just a solo you grocery shopping for lunch?
Just solo for me to get all the stuff I need to for lunch for work that week because I don't like
You're
I
like a
don't want
little
to.
like a Latush flag. You'll declare your independence. You go get your own stuff, make your
Well,
own lunch. Don't touch my cabbage. Like,
it's usually not cabbage, but no, Michelle works on Mondays, right? So during the times where she was working, I could just go and do whatever I needed to get done. And Mondays are a good day to get that done because the stores are very quiet because it's
yeah,
Monday. And because I work Tuesday through Saturday, I don't want to be that person that I work with someone that orders lunch regularly. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. That's a lot of fucking money, man. And so I make every week, I make my week's worth of lunches and then I make my breakfast for the week as well. That way I just, when I get up, I just have coffee, have breakfast and leave. I don't have to worry about anything.
are they labeled? Admit it.
No, they're not.
Not by. Are they all the same?
Yeah, it's the same meal for the entire week.
Same breakfast and same lunch entire week.
Well, the breakfasts are different from the lunches, but
Well,
yes, it's the
obviously, but
same
I mean,
breakfast.
but it's the same exact breakfast for breakfast. It's the same exact lunch for lunch. The
Correct,
entire week.
correct. And then I have some like fruits and whatnot sprinkled throughout.
Really? So give me an
Yeah.
example, like one thing, like you make pasta.
Uh,
It's like pasta every day.
so this past week, I made chicken sausage with spinach, onion, beans, and made it with like in a little bit of a chicken broth with some seasonings. It was pretty good. I mean, I'll be honest, you guys. I don't have a great palate. I think a lot of things taste good, and so it's not very easy. I mean, it's not very hard to make me satisfied with what I'm making. For a long time, I think there was a. I'm not kidding. People are going to probably look at me disgustingly for this. There was a time, I think, for 4 weeks straight, I did ground beef, rice, peppers, ground beef, rice, peppers, onions, and like carrots or something. With some sort of vegetables in there. I did
Like
that
a bowl
for a month.
for a month.
Yeah. And what I'd end up doing is I would use different hot sauces to make it taste a little bit different.
It's
So
like
I
a
know
whole
some.
new meal.
You would be surprised. You'd be surprised how much hot sauce changes the taste of everything. So yeah, that's just what I do. And so Mondays are my prep days. And so I go get my groceries and I cook.
Interesting. Brian says, "I wish we could meal prep. We well, I would say we. Angie does it occasionally, I should say. I would be horrible at it because, yeah, the hot sauce thing I get because there are sometimes like where we initially, especially when the girls left, being regularly cooking for 4 to 2, like there would be too many leftovers, so you had it like in 2 days in a row and stuff. Yes, I get you there. You can change the sauce, and you can make it almost like a sriracha. It's almost like Asian today, and like a hot sauce.
We've just gone right over the ocean.
But I don't know about 4 weeks. That's a lot of different hot sauces to come up with.
Yeah, that was a bad month. That was a bad. I think part of it too is decision fatigue. And I think everyone suffers from that to some extent, especially when it comes to what are we making for dinner every day. And I think I just went through a period where I did not want to think at all about what I have to eat. This is just what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to worry about anything else. And I think that was just a rough month. I think in terms of making decisions.
I think what like Angel does is like she'll see the stuff and then go shopping accordingly, like or based on what we have or something like that, because we've got the Costco and stocked up or whatever. And then like she'll be like, "What do you want tonight?" And then I'll be like, "What are my options?" Because I have no idea what we have in the freezer or whatever. And then
typical man.
This, and I'll be like, "You know what? Let's go with that. That sounds good or whatever." And then I'll be like, "Let's do that because we did chicken yesterday or whatever." And yeah. But meal prep, yes, that's a skill. I see Matish in a completely different light now. all the attributes of a serial killer.
I don't know.
Yeah, serial killer with no taste.
I didn't play with dead animals and open them up when I was younger. I think that's a pretty big sign of one.
That's a sign for eating people afterwards, not for like being.
You're right, but with enough hot sauce.
Trying different hot sauces to give different ethnicity to people. Sparky's in the house. Yeah, you just came in for some really obnoxious conversation. Good morning to everybody. Obviously, a great weekend again. Somehow, that game unfolded in the weirdest way possible. It was a deserved win at the end, even though it came in as like a last-minute winner. I can see if people didn't watch the game or an Arsenal fan who just woke up for the Arsenal game or something like that. They're like, "God damn it, they scored after 90." But that was like well-deserved throughout.
Yeah, the attack. I mean, it was just a classic case of peppering the goal without having any end product. And we've had games like that under Klopp. We've had games like that, under Slot to an extent. We've had games like that throughout the history of the club, because sometimes it just happens. Sometimes the keeper just plays out of his mind. Sometimes shots,
like, if you will.
What's that?
Mateusz, like.
Yes. Yeah. Off the line and everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes the finishing boots are just not on, and all it takes is the most expensive Divock Origi to come in and give you 3 points, and you move on.
But I mean, honestly, if he can give you that, I'm more than happy for that. For the record, let's not start this vicious cycle all over again and be like, "Oh, this is like the turning point" and stuff like that. But it can only help him moving forward. But I know I will love to be proven wrong. But as I watch this guy over the last 2 years now, 2.5 maybe, or is it 1.5? Either way, it just feels like he just does not fit, and he will have moments like this. But overall, he's going to get you more pissed than excited and happy overall.
Yeah, because there was a real chance that he probably should have been sent off. For that second, that tackle right at the end probably should have been a yellow. Would have been a yellow at any other point in the game, most likely. And I don't know, if it was just a favor to him or not. But it would have been the most Nunez thing to have ever happened, is to score 2 goals, pick up 2 yellows in between those goals, and not be able to play the next game after we're sitting here saying, look at all the confidence that he has. He should start the next game because he's very much a confidence player. But we've had, like you said, this cycle. We've had 6-7 times now where like, oh, I think he's ready. This is the moment. And then 3 weeks after that, we go, what the hell happened to the moment? It's
that, by the way, you said he's a confidence player. Do we even know that? Like, do we just hope
I
that.
guess I don't know. We
You know what I
I
mean?
think
Like, there has been
yeah.
games like you would think if you're a confidence player after that Newcastle game, you come out, you have another hat trick or whatever, and you score a goal or you play. Like we assume or hope it's a confidence issue, but nothing has proven to us that it is a confidence thing. Because I say that all the time too. But when you said it, I was like, is it though?
No, you're right. I think I see a lot of comments. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's a confidence player. He's a confidence player." So in my head, I'm thinking, "Yeah, he's a confidence player. He just needs to play and score." And now that he's scored two, maybe he'll. The thing is, he may. I don't know if he'll get to disappear with classic Diogo being hurt and all. No comment on that though. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be really interesting what Slot does against Lille. I think that's going to be telling for Nunez and his confidence. I think he should play against Lille because I think then there's a chance that he should then play the following weekend as well. There's a chance. So I don't know. It's one of those things where you don't want to, as a fan of a club, you don't want to necessarily have negative opinions for anyone on this club, but you also want to temper some of your expectations, especially because we have the proof, because we have the evidence that it just doesn't come around. We keep thinking it's going to come around, he's going to come around, and he just keeps showing us that it doesn't. And then as soon as we're pretty much like we've got a foot and a half out the door, like, fuck this guy, I'm leaving, I'm done with him, this is the most abusive relationship I've ever been in my life, he scores 2 goals in 2 minutes, and you're like, okay, maybe just one more time. That's fine.
And that's why I'm not doing that vicious cycle where we kind of like kid ourselves into this was the time. Now he's gonna be Holland or something. Like it's just he's that type of player. I think it's just a matter of level things. You can get any striker to go in there and he's gonna have a game like that. But to be a good striker, a quality striker, you got to do it consistently. Because I think you can have anybody. We can go sign somebody now from any team in Portugal, a striker, right? You can put him in. If you put him in Liverpool, here and there, 20, 30 minutes, he's going to eventually get goals. So you got to be able to do it consistently to earn that, yes, quality striker thing. Not to mention, I think the price tag kind of hurts him the most, more than anything else. Like Fenerbahce is a similar situation. We were just talking about this on a pod with my brother yesterday, where the dude, if they signed him for 5, oh my God, he's a great find. But because he came for 20, like he's expected to sign like score a hat trick every game or something like that. So the price tag, I think, like kind of like maybe not fairly set these expectations. And we talked about it before, coming in the same time as Holland, where he's like scoring goals for fun over there. That kind of like affected it and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it can only help him going forward. This is a good one, especially for you. Which one is more frustrating? Jota's lack of availability or Nunez inconsistency?
My vote is Jota's lack of availability.
That's a shocker, but go ahead.
Although that's it. I gave you my answer. I don't want any further questions. No, I think because I think this is the difference. Although Nunez is inconsistent with his finishing, and I know that you always talk about the press and just running at someone doesn't mean you're pressing at someone, but I think what he gives you physically, as far as what he can do, if he can get behind the defense, it makes the defenders think a little bit more of his physical presence, because Jota isn't very much a fast, strong, behind the line kind of player. He can be at times, but that's not what he is. Nunez is that type. And I feel like as a defender, if you have the chance to play against someone who receives the ball and plays and holds up play versus someone who's going to run in behind you every time, you probably want to play against the guy who's going to receive the ball and sit there for a moment, so you don't have to always worry about the guy running behind you. So while Nunez's lack of finishing and the inconsistency is really frustrating because you want him to finish, he can still provide the assist. He can provide the space. He can provide the width when if he's doing the things he's supposed to. Whereas Jota, we know what he can give us. He's proven what he can give us. And we can't get that because he's not available.
Yeah, I know. I see what you mean. Because, yes, you feel like if he was there kind of a thing. Because you know exactly what you're going to get scoring-wise and result-wise. And usually when you're looking for a striker to be available is when you're having problems scoring goals. Like, And the funny thing is, if the Jota was probably available, maybe Jota is the one that comes in over Nunez. But he comes like in the Forest game, he comes in, he scores. So I think, yeah, like the frustration is because that if he comes in, he's gonna get a goal or he's gonna make an impact. Whereas with Nunez, even if he was available, yeah, the inconsistency. But I would say probably I would agree that it is Jota's ability, just because you know exactly what you're going to get. Can we not start this, please? First thing in the morning. Come on, Sparky. I already had this conversation with Serzi on Discord. I mean, the do we really think like they're going around the building right now, empty out piggy banks to see if they have enough money? These guys are investing billions.
Yeah,
Do we
no,
really think they don't have 50 million? They have probably 50 million sitting in like a couch cushion or something like that they can pop out for a left back if they wanted to. So I
no,
don't think
they're actually going around. They're asking players to take pay cuts for their salaries. Actually, I don't know if you've heard about that. I think that's why.
for which team?
Oh, for every player on Liverpool, they've had conversations about lowering their salary.
Can you put in a little bit into the piggy bank? We're trying to raise funds for
Yeah,
a Celtic buy.
you guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? You guys want to go to more Celtics games. You want to be in the front on court side, don't you?
That wouldn't be bad, even though I'm not a Celtics fan. So there's that.
It'd still be fun. Yeah.
Matush, yeah, Jota's unable to stay fit, can't be overlooked. It's going on 4 seasons of it. But I mean, is it more? I mean, the question is it more frustrating than Nunez is? But I think it is, just because I know what's going to happen when Jota comes in. And I do like that. But again, if Nunez was consistent, you wouldn't even worry about Jota.
Yeah. I think I saw Jota has missed 40% of Liverpool games since he's been here in 4 years. 40% of the games.
That's crazy if you think about it, because that's Thiago Keita like numbers, but he's not talked about in the same. Maybe because the moment he's there, he makes an impact and then he just disappears. Like poof, he scores a goal and it's like poof, he's gone. Like,
But wait a minute. I've been saying that for 4 years, but I'm the one that gets shit all the time in Discord, on here. I've said that for 4 years, and now all of a sudden it's not a problem. What the hell, man?
but yeah, only 20 games a season. Yes, guys, this has nothing to do. Yeah, see, I mean, Red Sox fans talk about Liverpool. I don't think people understand how this works, especially with the amount of money that's being talked about. Like, it would be one thing if you're like, you're trying to budget for a new TV or some shit. But I mean, yeah, they're not
I
going
think
around empty piggy banks, just buy Celtics over there. So
I think people have to go back and look at those little charts or those little videos that show you how much a million is worth, and then how much a million is, and then how much a billion is, and then realize that that piece of million is nothing to that billion.
Yeah.
What is it? It's like a million seconds is 17 days, but a billion seconds is 140 years or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote.
Dude, you're throwing out numbers first thing in the morning.
No, that's why I shouldn't throw out numbers, because they're so incorrect. And I would look it up.
Nobody knows, so everybody's like, really?
I was gonna look it up on my computer, but every time I try and touch something on my keyboard, apparently my thing tries to explode. So here it is. A million seconds is roughly. Oh my God, it's Monday. A million seconds is roughly equivalent to 11 and a half days. A billion seconds is about 31.7 years. In other words, a billion is 1,000 times larger than a million. So the fact that they're looking to buy a team for, was it 5-6 billion, whatever that was said?
I have no idea, but I would assume somewhere
to not have 25, 30, 35 million for a player that wouldn't be the reason.
Yeah, it's just like, but I mean, it makes it easier. Of course, I'm like, oh, you're spending money over there.
It's like saying you want to buy a house, so you can't go get a cup of coffee at a coffee shop.
Probably not a good analogy by you, but
yeah, I'm just projecting at this point.
Dude, it's not easy finding a palace in Chicago. I hear you. So...
That's why I'm a couple hours away.
Van Dijk announced an exception. I mean, I think it's not an exception to any rule. That's Brian was talking about how a price tag kind of can almost like weigh players down a little bit. But I think that's with any sport, really. I mean, because the expectations of you coming in totally changes. I don't know, like if Minamino was signed for like 60 million,
huge
disappointment. Like, this is it, but when it's like, peanuts, you're like, anything you get is like icing on the cake. So it's always going to be like that. It's just a matter of like how much it affects the player I think is more important than anything else. But sometimes, you're worth every penny. And like with Van Dijk, it's just, I mean, this weekend, I mean, honestly, like this season, you look at him and there's a point this week, was that the Forest game or was it the Brentford game, where he takes a misstep, like we almost like whiffs, but then he catches up and uses his body. And I thought like Konate was excellent this game as well. So they're probably, if, especially if we can keep Konate healthy, they are probably, like the best center back duo we've had in a long time. And we said this with like Gomez and stuff like that in the past. But Konate does so much of the dirty work, because obviously everybody targets away from Van Dijk usually. So now it's like, do you really want to go away from Konate? I think eventually, though, we will come to a point, especially if Konate stays healthy and keeps going like that. But that can change as Van Dijk gets older and stuff like that. It puts a bit, he's put under a bit more pressure. But yeah, I mean, he's worth every penny and then some. Get those contracts done. I'm not even going to. Okay. You have a chart. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead and bring it up.
Oh, okay. Let me do that for you.
Because if I click it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Okay, so this is players who have missed more than one game. Is that what it is?
Yes. Okay, I hope this doesn't.
You will have to move the mouse, unfortunately, yes. Because we can't even see where we're at right now. Okay.
Injuries resulting in a player missing one or more game this season in the Premier League. And this is a chart that shows the amount of injuries. And in years past, we were on the other side of this chart, or on the other end of this chart, I should say. I'm really actually shocked to see. Maybe that's why people don't believe in Forest still, is because if they do have a pretty rough injury, they would expect them to.
But they have had 0 injuries according to this.
No. 8 starts at 8.
Oh, okay. So they set the bar. They set the lower bar.
Yes. Starts at 8 and goes all the way to 24. I think it was, and it goes by increments of 2.
That's crazy. Are they not even practicing? They're going around in bubble wrap or some shit? That's like nuts.
Whatever they're doing, it's working, because they're also second in the league, or third in the league, whatever it is now. I don't even care, because the only spot that matters is 1, right? But yeah, this is you can see, Spurs and Arsenal obviously have had a rough go of it, but Villa and Brighton have as well. So it's not like, these things happen. So you got to just take it in stride and keep going, right?
Yeah, so this is amazing what happens. That's a good question. Is that luck? Is that the style? Is that the players? Because obviously ours have Jota built in to the system there. But is that like, what is it you think? Because is it the players? Is it just pure luck? Is it the setup?
I think there's got to be your famous pie. I think you have to split the pie up pretty evenly.
You're splitting it evenly?
Maybe not. Okay, the way that you just said that at me, like a very disappointed father, I'm going to go back and say, no, not so evenly
anymore. Is that what I taught you, son?
No. Yeah, well, I think training regimens definitely have a point to it. I also think that play style has a huge thing to do with it as well, right? Because if you're training, you're always supposed to train harder in practice than it's more than game speed in practice, right? Because it's supposed to set you up for the game. But when your training regimen is so intense, and then your on-field game is so intense, with the way that Klopp was set up, I mean, you're bound to run off the legs of people and bound to have more injuries, I think, because the system just presents itself that way. You see a lot of teams that are able to kind of cycle back. I mean, you're looking at the list, and a lot of teams that don't necessarily have that full kind of gegenpress personality to it. You see a lot of those teams not being at the top of the list, except for Arsenal, which is weird because they just sit back and don't do anything. But maybe it's because they've got injuries. So I think it's a lot of the system, it's a lot of the training, and then there has to be a little bit of luck.
Yeah, and I think it compounds as well. If you think about it, if you are, somewhere in the middle, it's a lot easier to shift towards the right, because now you're playing guys who are not regular, like used to playing that much, because you have injuries. Well, since the guy is not used to playing so much, now he starts getting injured. Like, we always talk about, Konate, Gomez, you got to rotate these guys and stuff like that. Well, if you don't have anybody and you have to play them all the time, it's very likely that they're going to get injured. So now your numbers keep piling up and you keep moving more and more right. So, yeah, that's an interesting pie over there. I don't know how to slice that, but luck has to be a part of it, especially for, like in-game injuries and stuff like that. But it also has to be, you would think, to do with, I don't know, like the training and the playing style as well. It has to be, especially for like muscle injuries and stuff like that. But well, you said standings and you didn't know, so let me inform you and we can talk about that. Okay, here we go. Liverpool on top, Arsenal second. And that was the thing, by the way. Going back to the game this weekend, I thought with what we did by winning like that, made it even worse for Arsenal, who is going to come out later on. Because from almost thinking we're about to cut it to 2 points if we win this, guys, to fuck, we can only keep pace if we win this. But to be honest, after that, they came out and they were up and leading. I thought they would struggle in the beginning because they would be demoralized, but they give the game away from 2-0. Is that even more demoralizing because now they fall further behind?
Yes. Yeah. I think if I was an Arsenal fan or if I was an Arsenal player, I would have much rather come out flat, gone down 2-0, and then come back to at least get a point out of it, because that would be a lot better, more and it wouldn't be as demoralizing as going up 2-0 and then dropping the 2 points. So yeah, it's great for us, right? We're not going to be sitting here and complaining, but I think not losing that, it potentially feels like a loss though. I think that game alone, I mean, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I feel like that was kind of their season, their chance there. And I think dropping those points is going to be huge for the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to come back from that.
See, that's what Gally says too. I think, I don't know, like I'm the Warrior, so I don't think we can say that yet. But the thing is, they're going into a couple of tougher schedule like fixtures compared to us, especially. I guess really depends on how we treat Champions League, because we still don't know and we'll find out tomorrow, I guess. But like, are we going to use Champions League to, like just like do some rotation and stuff like that because we earned where we're at, or because Arsenal still has to? I'll look at their standings right now too, but well, let's look at it, I guess. Let's share this instead. Yeah, I mean, they are third, so they're in a good situation too, but I know it gets like really tight when you look at let's share this over here. There we go. So I know, I mean, because everybody and their brother is 13. So even though they are third over there, it's really tight. I don't think they have a tough. I think they played Zagreb or somebody like, right? Yeah, they played them in Zagreb. So you would think it's a game with, they can go with some rotation and still do well. But Wolves away is a lot tougher fixture than it was. It's normally not easy as a fixture anyway, to be honest with you. I would argue that. But going back to the standings over there, I just don't think, I don't know, man, it feels like a little early to there were people, I knew it too, like the moment like City was going ape shit on Ipswich, just beating them like a little kid, people would be like, here comes City. It's just like, calm the fuck down. I mean, they're like basically 12 points behind with a game in hand. We only do have 16 games left. Right? I mean, basically everybody has 16 games left. We have 17 games left. So for them to go, do you see City as a team who wins all out until the end of the season? That would still give us 5 games to fuck up in, if not 6 or 7.
I hate this question because I want to say no. I want to say that I don't have to worry about it, but PTSDs.
Oh, come on.
Look, here's what I'm going to say. If City somehow win the fucking league this year, I'm done watching Premier League. I'm done. I am done. I am done with everything. I don't want to watch it anymore. I am going to be physically ill, and I don't think I will ever have enough in me to ever want to root for a team ever again. If that happens, I'm just going to say that right now.
I mean, first of all, I don't think so. To answer the question I asked you that you avoided, I don't think it's a team that can kind of win every game still. That was like Ipswich game. And, it was a game that you knew, I mean, yeah, it's a game that is going to be, Cersei says he's on the same boat. Yeah, I mean, I would be, because
Get on board.
That happens. We'd be like, it's never over till it's over. Like, we'll be paranoid forever. But I mean, you guys are saying Arsenal is done, and then at the same time,
we're already paranoid. What do you mean? What are you talking about? We're going to say
it's like PTSD, right? But
yeah.
Here's the thing: we're getting later and later in the season. If this was like earlier, Sparky says we'll win on 88 points. City to finish third. Going back to the standings. If you guys, okay, so like, where are we at with City over here? Because, if they go on a semi-serious run, can they take on Arsenal? Or I'm assuming Sparky is basically saying Forest will drop. They did just have that injury. I don't know how bad he's hurt. What's the kid's name? Gibbs, right? He came out injured.
Morgan Gibbs-White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, see, that's the positivity we're looking for. City's too far behind. Preach. And then Arsenal had too many injuries. I honestly don't. I mean, Arsenal, I'm not ready to write off yet. But okay, let me answer this. Are we looking down, more worried about ourselves, or it's just PTSD? That's why we keep looking down. Like, when we were rolling, when we won the title, I know we were like way far ahead than we are now. But I mean, ultimately, you beat Everton, you'd be 9 points up. Are we like not totally sold on what we're doing, or is it just PTSD that we keep looking down?
I think it's absolutely just about. I think that's what we're, because it almost feels like it's been too good to be true with this transition from Klopp to Slot in a way where, I know that clearly Slot has showcased that he is a formidable manager, right? And he knows what he's doing. But in some ways, sometimes you kind of wake up and go, like, how is this kind of happening? You have this legendary manager that you have for so long, and then you have this moment where all the wheels come off the bus in March and April, right? And you're thinking, great, now we have to transition to a brand new manager. What is that going to look like? And the fact that we're sitting where we are at in both competitions, or in all competitions, honestly, it just feels like it's just we're waiting for someone to come behind and just pull the rug out from beneath us. I think so. That's the thing I'm worried about, is from ourselves, because looking at the math that I just did really haphazardly on my phone.
1 second is 55 years. No, go ahead.
It's going to turn into the Office episode, and they're all singing about how many seconds he's been their boss. About you, though. So 86 points is the total maximum that City could have if they win every game. The last 60, if they win all 16 games from here on out, that's an additional 48 points that get added to 38. So 86, the total points. We're sitting at 50. We're sitting at 50 with how many? With 50
more games left.
With 51 available points. So what we would need from that is 37 out of the 51, which sounds so doable, but it's also a little scary because it again just seems too good to be true. I think that's the problem, is that we just keep looking at it going, is this really going to happen? Is it really going to happen? Because it just feels fantastic.
So sounds more PTSD than anything else then. Yeah, I mean, based on what you're saying. Gala says, I don't see Arsenal winning at Anfield or against City. They dropped too many points with no soccer. Yeah, that's the problem, right? I mean, you watch them, and, I like their control and stuff like that, but they just don't create a lot of danger. And the thing now is, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like Trossard and stuff like that, and I thought he had like a good game, but now you're playing these guys constantly who are not used to playing constantly. Especially over the last season and stuff like that. So before you know it, they're probably going to get hurt as well. But this is Arsenal's schedule going ahead, and there's some huge games there. Because I think I saw, if we scroll a bit more, I mean, they're going away to Forest at the end there as well. But even if you look at the next, Leicester City is a team they're probably going to blow away, I would think. But Wolves away is a tricky one, and the City game obviously now is huge. It looks like. I mean, so by February 2nd, if we put a back-to-back performances, we could be up even further on them. Because meanwhile, we're playing Ipswich and who? Let me look it up over here before you look at the seconds and calculations.
Bournemouth.
That's a tough one too. We have a Bournemouth away.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, especially the way Bournemouth play is a tough one. Then we obviously have like the Everton game that's filled in, squeezed in there. I think it is another thing, the FA Cup draw we had kind of has helped us, and the fact that especially after tomorrow, we could be totally done with the Champions League thing and treat it like a EFL Cup game for the PSV away game. I wouldn't even fly some of these guys over there and be like, "You stay back and relax. We're gonna go to Holland and be right back," kind of a thing. But I don't know, man. Like I say, the City thing I think is over the top PTSD at this point because one, I do not see them winning every single game just because they beat Ipswich. Isn't this the same team that basically dropped points last week from 2-0 up that everybody is freaking out over? And bear in mind, yeah, Brentford, they were up 2-0, weren't they?
Brentford
away.
Yeah.
That we totally dominated this weekend. I know the goals came late, but same fixture, and we totally dominated compared to what City did the week before. And now they're going away to PSG. So, and that's a game they have to win. And then they play Chelsea, then they play Arsenal. So these next 2 weeks will be huge in terms of that. Arsenal City game is huge by itself because the draw there, and it's almost like you seal the deal. Because I do agree with Gally. I think that will be almost like a European night kind of atmosphere at Anfield. And I don't care how many speakers Arteta sets up in practice. I don't think he can simulate the atmosphere that they're going to walk into there. And I think Liverpool will know that you win that game, you win the title.
Yeah, I think, I will have a lot less trouble being honest about where I think the team will finish. So I do think this team will win the league. I really do. I don't think City's going to win 16 games in a row. I'm just playing your role usually, where it's like, hey, but what about this though? So ask me at the end of February, and I think at the end of February, not everything will be set in stone, but we will have a conclusion to our feelings of not having to worry about anyone behind our, in the rearview mirror, because I think Arsenal play Forest the last weekend of February, and after that game, I believe whatever is going to happen for the title will end that weekend, unless there's some disastrous, awful slip late into the year.
Yeah, Aaron says, but still concerned. I did predict us to beat Brentford. I thought that was real. I wanted 4 points out of 6 at least with the Forest away and the Brentford away game. So when we tied Forest, I was like, we have to win this one. And I really, like I say, I know we scored late, but I thought it was well deserved. That was like a good performance overall. Ipswich is a scary game in the sense that it looks too easy on paper. Those games scare the shit out of me normally. But I do have more faith in this team, especially since we're going to play Tuesday and stuff like that. But here's the thing. Every win you get, it goes back to your math, right? We're getting the what is it, 36 out of the 51 or 37 out of the 51. So every game you win, you're getting another 3 and another 3. And I think that's like builds a lot of pressure on the other side of the teams that are chasing you as well. And it becomes kind of demoralizing. I mean, I remember one season, and I don't want to remember it, that we were, us and Liverpool, they were constantly winning like 18 games straight or something like that. That shit doesn't happen, especially this season. It will not happen. I don't think any team is like that. And let me ask you that. Is that because not one team is that dominant, or is everybody else a little bit better? So you don't have a team winning like 10 straight. I mean, I don't even know what our longest streak is of like just winning. But even then, it's not, I don't think it's 10 games.
Yeah, I think it's just a mixture of an influx of investment into the league from from foreign owners because you've got a lot more money in the league that will allow you to buy more players, kind of have more available funds for talent and for coaching. So you hit all that, you put all that together in one league, and you're going to come up with the recipe for a more competitive league. Granted, we're saying that on the back of City winning, so many titles in the last decade, but overall, you've sort of seen not so much from the teams coming up from the championships. I feel like we still very much suffer from the come up, come down syndrome in the league. But you're getting a lot of what was 3, 4, 5 years ago, a lot of those teams in the middle that can be very competitive on any week. And so I think that's helped the league overall, because if you have less of those games where it's just where you just go and walk all over someone on the pitch, then it makes you play that little bit tougher, and week to week a little bit tougher does strain you physically and mentally.
Yeah, and I think it shows in the standings. We'll look now in a second here, but Aaron says 10 more wins should be enough to get us over the line, because that gives you the 30 that you wanted out of the 36, and you're hoping. I mean, this team does not look like a team that will lose a lot of games, maybe draw some games, but not lose a lot of games, because it is still like we do still have like a solid defensive posture and stuff like that. And here's the thing, man. I mean, you look at. If you listen to Slot's press conferences, and he keeps going over and over and over again, the fact that, the games have been very similar over the last month. It's just we have not converted the chances we've gotten. But like the XG numbers and, even the United game, Forest game, you look at all those numbers, because he keeps talking about, like when he answers questions to the media, you guys just look at the results. I look at everything else, kind of a thing. And it's like, they are kind of, it's the same numbers. We're not converting as much. Well, those are usually trends. You don't go 15 weeks with that same trend. So that dip is there right now. And if this is the dip, I'll take a dip like this anytime. But here's the thing. It is the draws that kill you, but not when you only need 36 out of 51, because every draw is another one, as opposed to a loss where people gain on you 3 points at a time. I guarantee you, like a draw. I mean, the Brentford game is different, because I think, like Arsenal fans will be extremely happy if that game ended like that, and there would be a huge boost for them going into the Villa game. But I think even a point from a tough fixture is a win in some ways, because you're adding one more to that 36 or whatever. And that was assuming, the other guys win all the games and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that was just for City, not for like Arsenal. But I think we all agree that we don't see Arsenal. Somehow we don't see Arsenal winning every game, but everybody sees City winning every game because they beat Ipswich.
No, because there's history there, because they've done it. That's why. It's not because they beat Ipswich. It's because they've done it. They've proved that they can do it. But I do agree that it depends on when in the season you pick up those draws, because we've seen the big difference between this year and the years where we were nearly edged out by City, where that we had a lot of draws. We didn't have many losses, but we had a lot of draws. And in every one of those cases, we would have rather taken, let's say out of 4 games, you lose 2 and you win 2. We'd rather take the 6 points than to draw 4 and only get 4 points, right? I think this year we're seeing that because we only have the 1 draw for the whole year, right? So it's a big difference, I think.
We have 5 draws, 1 loss.
I mean, sorry. What?
But I think the key is those draw. I think it depends on, like, the Forest away draw is not a bad one. Newcastle away draw is not a bad one. Ipswich at home draw would be a bad one, for example. And I think that's what you kind of have to look at. Where are those results coming from? When are you getting those results? So, like I say, Newcastle away, Arsenal away. What else did we lose, or did we draw, I should say? We lost the Forest at home. That's probably the biggest loss, but that was kind of like a freak thing. Another game we dominated, we just gave up the goal. But I don't know. I feel like overall, there hasn't been a lot of results where they're like, you got to win that kind of an ordeal. So, yeah, I mean, the PTSD is basically what's fueling you guys. I don't have that yet. Maybe if they win 4 in a row, I'll be like, let's take a look at this math over here. But just because this is the same team that could not get away from Brentford away after being up 2-0. So it's kind of too early to kind of like panic on that. But looking at this, by the way, because we were talking about earlier about like how like middle of the table is stronger. Well, partially because I think middle of the table and the bottom of the end of the table includes teams like Manchester United and Spurs. Let me ask you about Spurs. Do you see a scenario where they battle for relegation? It seemed obnoxious, maybe, I don't know, 2 months ago, but it's very much a reality now. If Ipswich got something out of that game yesterday, they would have only been like 4 or 5 points away.
It's hard to even think that we should be having this conversation, honestly. But when you look at, I think it was the form over the last 2 months, they're sitting in 19th. I mean, they had a good start, and then ever since then the wheels have really come off. And it's just, even looking at their goal differential at 15th at a positive 10, and you're thinking, where did it all go wrong? I don't think they're going to be in the conversation for relegation, but they very much, if they get knocked out of the cup by us, I think Ange loses his job, because I think that's the last thing he has going for him. If he can somehow get them through and get them to the final and get them to win the final, I think sort of like Ten Hag, he gets to hang his hat on that and maybe get one more go. But if we come back from that 1-0 defeat and come back and advance in the cup, I think he's out.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's a bigger coat hanger when you win something for Spurs too. It's not even like, it was almost a little obnoxious for a United fan, United's manager, to say, look, we won the AFL Cup, back the fuck off, kind of a thing, as opposed to like, you guys haven't won anything, kind of a deal. Okay, let me ask you this. They lose the final, because that's what, like March or something like that, and they're still somewhere around here. Does he keep his job for taking him to the final?
No, he has to win it.
He has to win it. Okay.
He has to win it. He has to win it to get a chance to keep his job. And I'm not, just like Brian saying, there's a chance that he loses his job one way or the other, but if he wins the final, he at least, I think, gets to keep it through the rest of the year. But if he doesn't, then I think he's out, even with it being so close to the end of the season.
Steve says we're winning the games we used to draw or lose away to a bottom half team. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like I say, the points we've lost. I mean, Forest, especially back then, you could argue. Now we're saying, well, maybe Forest was a lot better than we thought, but still losing at home kind of hurts. But I don't think any other losses. United, you can agree. I mean, you can argue that that's a bad points lost to the United team who had their best game of the season. I mean, you watch them this weekend, it's like yikes. But apart from that, like I say, most of the points we've lost have been acceptable, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So Everton, I'm actually on board with this, Aaron, on this one. I'm counting that as very similar to this United game where we drew and get 1 point out of it, because I'm counting it as we have like 7 points up right now, not 9 points up, because I feel like that's going to be a tricky away game. Last game at Goodison still, like for like the derby and stuff like that. I mean, do you see us getting 3 out of that one? I mean, if you look on the paper, yeah, but I mean, you can't, because it's the derby, you can't.
No, I don't. I mean, how many times have we won at Goodison in the last decade? Once?
Yeah, even when we were rolling, right?
Yeah. So, no, I think a draw. I think a draw is what I'm expecting. I'm also not going to jump off the cliff if we lose that game, because I think that it's going to be a very emotionally charged game, especially from the Everton point of view. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up losing that game as well, but it's not going to be one of those where the whole season has come undone. This is the worst thing in the world that's ever happened. But a draw is what I would be more than happy with. But I wouldn't be surprised if we end up dropping even more points and losing that game.
Really? See, I don't see us losing. I do see a draw where they, like really kill time and stuff like that, and we just can't get over the line, and it's like, we consider a silly goal from a set piece and it ends up 1-1 or something like that. I just see a scenario like that in my head. But Sparky says, and I do agree with this, the relegation is 3 out of the bottom 4 right now. I don't think Leicester. Where's Anan? I can't wait to ask Anan what he thinks about Rude now, because he was the coach of the season after like fucking 3 days at Leicester. Do you see Ipswich making it out of there, or Wolves hold them down?
I think I think personally, I would like to see Ipswich stay up. I think for the sentimentality of it, for the emotions of it. Um, I don't know if they have enough to stay, but that's the difference between Ipswich and Wolves. I think Ipswich they haven't played poorly this year. They just haven't been able to get the results because of, like last 10, 15 minutes where they kind of just everything goes to shit. Whereas Wolves, they've just played like shit the whole year, and they just happen to get a few good results. So I think that'll be back and forth between the both of them. I would love to see Ipswich stay up. I think just for the lore of the Premier League, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's up 3, down 3, same way again.
Yeah, I mean, the thing when I look at these, I always look at, if it's relegation, I always try to look at like goals scored. And I think that's what thing Wolves has over all these other teams. They can get goals. So I feel like a team that can get goals, at least against the bottom part of the league, they will get some 3 points, or they will like rescue some single points. Whereas
Sure.
a team like Ipswich, you almost like can see when a team can score, they only have 20 goals. Everton is at 18, Southampton is at 15, and sadly 2 of those are against us somehow. But it's one of those where when you go down, the task becomes 10 times harder, as opposed to a team that can score goals. You're like, okay, we got to go get one. Whereas if you're Ipswich, you're like, we barely get one. How are we going to get 2 kind of a thing? And it's just like a lot more demoralizing. So it happens what happened yesterday. Like the moment you concede 1, the guard kind of falls, and then it just keeps coming one after another. And I feel like that's why I think, yeah, what goes up comes down kind of a deal, and all these 3 will go down the same way. I think Everton will make it out of there, and yeah, Wolves will make it out of there, just because I trust Vitor to kind of like get enough points over there for them. But yeah, okay, so yeah, if you can take all 3 there, this is the Everton started a slide last year. Where I just don't think. It's always a tough away, even like when we were rolling high with Klopp and stuff like that. It's just a tough picture. It's the same thing as playing United at home. Doesn't matter where you're at the table, you throw the records out the window, kind of a thing. And it is true for these games. But okay, so meal prep, you're heading out. Do you know? Like, do you have a list? You're like, this week I will eat rice all week, or like,
I'll be honest.
Grocery store, you're like stuffing. I'm gonna eat stuffing all week.
I'll be honest. I don't know what I want to do until I get to the store and I just start walking around and I'm like, okay, this is the one this week.
I'm eating Oreos all week.
But because I've been doing this for, I don't know, 2 years, I think I just end up recycling the same ideas that I've done in the past. So while I don't know what I'm doing, I know that I will be doing something that I've done before. So it's not like a brand new recipe kind of thing that I don't know what to pick up. So I know that I'll always grab similar things because I'll end up doing something that I've done before.
Well, it has to be something that's easy to heat up and it's going to last the whole goddamn week as well. Yeah. So what are we doing? Like rice bowls and stuff like that? Give me like a couple of these that you do regularly.
Okay. No, I try to also keep it healthy, man. That's the point of it. That's the point of it too.
That was my Oreo theory.
Because it's really easy. Just get I could just go buy a bunch of fucking McDoubles and just eat them, just put them in the fridge and have them all week. No, for example, maybe this week it'll be like a ground beef, sweet potatoes, peppers and onion kind of thing. Or I've done like fajita bowls with chicken and peppers and rice. So stuff like that. So I don't know what I'm gonna pick today.
That is a great. I mean, that's how so I'm going back to that now. When Layla came here for summer initially, yeah, like instead of like my easiest, because I'm working, I'm like, I'll just make a sandwich and stuff like that, and not necessarily eating bread. I mean, a bowl versus a sandwich is a huge difference. So you do a rice bowl instead of putting it inside a sandwich or something like that. It's a lot healthier, and I lost a ton of weight. Of course, I gained it back, but now starting over again, so I can lose it back. I don't want to be I'm gonna go do this like reffing thing in spring, and I don't want to be that fat ref that just stays in the center circle. So I've got to be able to run around and move around and stuff like that. But
I'm gonna, just so everyone knows, I'm gonna come to one of those games to watch, and I'm gonna have a scorecard where I'm gonna keep track of how good or how bad Timogen's decisions are, and how he's able to take control of the game.
You know what I feel like is the biggest thing I'm gonna have a trouble with, and I already did like during the training part of it, is some rules I don't agree with. So you know what I mean? So I find myself, that's not a foul. I mean, come on, kind of, that kind of, so I gotta kind of like adjust myself to
That's not how
follow
it
the
works.
rule, even if I'm not big on it, kind of a thing. So that's gonna be my biggest struggle, I feel like, moving forward, because I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, yeah, I know it's rule, but that's bullshit. Come on, kind of a thing. So
the moment you're saying that, it gives an out to every single ref that we've ever complained about, because then you just talk to him like, hey, David, what the hell was that? He goes, well, I personally don't think that's a foul. Why would I call that? So, yeah, that's not how it works.
Hey, when I make the money these guys make, I will follow it to the T. Don't worry about it. Now, with the money that these guys pay, actually, which is a lot, to be honest, for what you're doing, I guess. But yeah, that's going to be like the biggest part of the adjustments. I can already tell, like handballs and stuff like that. Like, especially for defenders, I'm like, what is he supposed to do? Like, he can't just chop his arm off, kind of a thing. So that's going to be the tricky part right there. The smoker isn't meal prepping, as I've been told, says yes, no.
If I had
but you can do pulled pork and eat it throughout the week.
Yeah, no, if I had a smoker, I would definitely do some of that. Like my stepdad, he'll smoke salmon sometimes. And smoked salmon is so fantastic. I would recommend it to anyone. And so if I could do it, the problem with the salmon though is that it's not good for several days. You have to finish it in a couple days unless you freeze. Because sometimes, depending on what I make, I'll have to put 2 in the fridge and 2 in the freezer, so that I can still have the 2 not be completely bad by the time I eat it, because it happens.
The level of organization is mind-boggling and very impressive. I envy it in some ways. At the same time, makes me shake my head and be like, "What?"
You send me $5 a month, and I'll give you your weekly meal plans, and I'll tell you what to buy and how to make it.
Yeah, okay. I can go online and find that. I'm gonna fucking make it, and they ain't just gonna be like, "Go make it yourself." So that's not gonna happen. Okay, well, you have fun grocery shopping. I'll be back tonight with the gang. We'll be obviously talking about a lot more about the Brentford game in detail. We'll look at the Champions League game tomorrow and like the lineups and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully, Dayquil will keep me going throughout the day into the evening. A couple of doses should be in shape. But have a great day, everybody. And then we'll see you guys tonight. Take care.